There's a moment when your consciousness hovers between multiple possible thoughts, like a quantum particle existing in superposition before measurement collapses it into a single reality. This isn't metaphor. It's the literal description of how your mind operates at the deepest level, where thoughts exist as probability waves in quantum fields until the act of awareness itself determines which reality emerges into your conscious experience. Dr. Roger Penrose and Dr. Stuart Hameroff's revolutionary orchestrated objective reduction theory reveals that consciousness doesn't emerge from classical neural computation, but from quantum processes occurring within microtubules, tiny protein structures inside neurons that function as biological quantum computers. These microtubules maintain quantum coherence at body temperature through mechanisms that classical physics said should be impossible. Yet experimental evidence now confirms their existence. When Penrose first proposed that consciousness involves quantum mechanics, the scientific establishment dismissed it as impossible. Quantum effects, they argued, couldn't survive the warm, wet, noisy environment of the brain. But Hameroff's detailed investigation of microtubule structure revealed that these cellular components possess the precise geometric properties necessary to sustain quantum coherence through resonant frequency patterns that isolate quantum processes from environmental decoherence. The implications revolutionize our understanding of mind itself. Instead of consciousness emerging from complex arrangements of classical matter, awareness represents the universe becoming conscious of itself through quantum measurement processes that collapse possibility waves into experienced reality. If you can sense your consciousness existing in quantum superposition right now, simultaneously considering multiple possibilities until this moment of reading collapses them into singular awareness. Type 7CUFM in the comments below. This isn't just recognition. It's your first conscious participation in the quantum measurement process that creates your reality moment by moment. Dr. Henry Stapp's interpretation of quantum mechanics places consciousness at the center of reality creation through what he calls quantum interactive dualism. Unlike classical physics, where consciousness is merely an emergent property of complex matter arrangements, quantum mechanics reveals consciousness as the fundamental agent that collapses probability waves into definite outcomes through the act of observation. Stapp's analysis of the quantum measurement problem demonstrates that conscious observation is not passive recording, but active participation in reality creation. When you observe quantum systems, and your brain is ultimately a quantum system, you're not just witnessing predetermined events, but participating in the selection process that determines which possibility becomes actual experience. This means every moment of awareness involves quantum measurement events, where consciousness selects specific outcomes from infinite quantum possibilities. Your thoughts don't simply arise from deterministic neural processes. They emerge from quantum probability collapses that you participate in through the very act of being conscious. Dr. Evan Harris Walker's groundbreaking research on quantum processes in synaptic transmission shows that consciousness operates through quantum tunneling effects in neural membranes. When neurons fire, quantum tunneling allows particles to pass through energy barriers that classical physics says should block them, creating the precise timing necessary for conscious experience to emerge from neural activity. Walker's calculations reveal that quantum tunneling in synapses operates with the exact specifications needed to amplify quantum events to macroscopic neural activity. The probability of synaptic firing depends on quantum mechanical processes that introduce genuine randomness into neural computation. But this isn't chaotic randomness. It's quantum randomness that consciousness can influence through observation effects. His mathematical analysis demonstrates that the human brain contains approximately 10^111 neurons, each with thousands of synapses, creating roughly 10-15 quantum tunneling events per second. This enormous number of quantum events provides the computational substrate for consciousness to emerge from quantum processes while maintaining sufficient quantum coherence to enable genuine quantum computation in biological systems. Dr. Friedrich Beck and Dr. John Eccles discovered that quantum mechanics operates at neural synapses through what they term quantum mechanical trigger events. When neurotransmitters are released at synaptic junctions, quantum uncertainty determines whether specific synapses will fire, meaning that quantum randomness directly influences thought processes and decision-making. Their research demonstrates that the brain functions as a quantum amplification system where microscopic quantum events get magnified into macroscopic neural firing patterns that create conscious experience. Your thoughts literally emerge from quantum probability, collapses occurring trillions of times per second throughout your neural networks. Beck and Eccles showed that consciousness can influence these quantum trigger events through what they call quantum mechanical amplification of intentional processes. When you intend to move your arm or focus your attention, consciousness influences the quantum probability distributions that determine which synapses fire, creating a mechanism for mental causation that operates through quantum mechanics rather than classical physics. But the most startling discovery is that consciousness appears to influence its own quantum processes through feedback loops that allow awareness to partially determine which quantum events occur in the brain. This creates a strange loop where consciousness both emerges from and influences the quantum processes that generate it, suggesting that mind and quantum reality exist in fundamental entanglement. Dr. Max Tegmark initially argued against quantum theories of consciousness, claiming that quantum coherence couldn't survive in warm biological systems long enough to influence neural processing. His calculations suggested that quantum coherence would decay in femtoseconds, far too quickly to affect neural processes that operate on millisecond timescales. However, recent discoveries in quantum biology have completely overturned Tegmark's objections by demonstrating that living systems not only maintain quantum coherence, but actively use quantum effects for essential biological functions that require coherence times much longer than Tegmark's calculations predicted. Photosynthesis operates through quantum coherence effects that allow energy to find optimal pathways through molecular systems with efficiency that classical physics cannot explain. The quantum coherence in photosynthetic systems persists for hundreds of femtoseconds, precisely the time scale needed for quantum processes to influence neural computation. Bird navigation uses quantum entanglement in cryptochrome proteins to detect magnetic fields through quantum spin correlations that must remain coherent for milliseconds to enable accurate navigation. These quantum coherence times in biological systems are thousands of times longer than Tegmark's theoretical limits suggested possible. If biological systems routinely harness quantum effects for basic functions like energy transfer and navigation, consciousness using quantum processes becomes not just possible, but probable. The quantum biology revolution has validated the physical plausibility of quantum consciousness theories by proving that biological quantum coherence is not only possible, but ubiquitous in living systems. Dr. Giuseppe Vitiello's quantum field theory approach to consciousness proposes that awareness emerges from quantum field dynamics in neural tissue, where consciousness represents coherent excitations of quantum fields that extend throughout the brain. These quantum field excitations create the unity and coherence of conscious experience through quantum field correlations that bind distributed neural processes into unified awareness. Vitiello's mathematical framework describes consciousness as quantum field phenomena that exhibit properties impossible for classical neural networks. the binding of distributed information into unified experience, the apparent freedom of attention and intention, and the creative emergence of novel thoughts and insights that seem to arise from quantum possibility fields rather than deterministic computation. His quantum field theory explains how consciousness can exhibit both unity and diversity, simultaneously unified experience that incorporates vast amounts of diverse information. Quantum field dynamics naturally create coherent states that integrate information while maintaining the flexibility necessary for the constant flux and creativity that characterizes conscious awareness. Dr. Mari Jibu and Dr. Kunio Yasue's research on quantum brain dynamics focuses on water molecule quantum coherence in neural tissue. Their work reveals that ordered water in neural microtubules can sustain quantum coherent states that propagate throughout the brain as quantum waves, creating the possibility for brain-wide quantum information processing. The quantum brain dynamics model shows how quantum coherent water states could create electromagnetic field patterns that integrate information across the entire brain instantaneously. These quantum electromagnetic fields would provide the mechanism for binding distributed neural processes into the unity of conscious experience, while maintaining quantum superposition states that allow consciousness to explore multiple possibilities simultaneously. Jibu and Yasue's research demonstrates that neural tissue contains the precise physical conditions necessary to sustain brain-wide quantum coherence through quantum electromagnetic field dynamics. Water molecules in ordered biological systems exhibit quantum coherence properties that could support consciousness as a quantum field phenomenon, extending throughout neural tissue. Their mathematical models predict that consciousness should exhibit specific electromagnetic signatures that reflect underlying quantum coherent states. When consciousness changes states, from waking to dreaming, from focused attention to creative insight, the electromagnetic signatures should show corresponding quantum field changes that can be measured experimentally. Dr. Walter Schemp's quantum holographic theory of neural information processing proposes that memories and conscious experiences are stored and processed as quantum holograms in neural tissue. These quantum holograms encode information in quantum interference patterns that can be accessed and reconstructed through quantum resonance processes. Schemp's theory explains how consciousness can have immediate access to vast amounts of stored information, while maintaining the associative and creative properties that characterize conscious thinking. Quantum holographic storage would allow any piece of information to contain references to all related information through quantum interference patterns. The quantum holographic model provides a mechanism for consciousness to access not just personal memories, but potentially information from quantum fields that extend beyond individual brains. If consciousness operates through quantum holographic processes, awareness might naturally have access to information stored in quantum fields that connect all conscious systems. These theoretical developments in quantum consciousness research have established the physical plausibility and mathematical frameworks necessary to describe consciousness as a quantum phenomenon. But theory alone isn't enough. Experimental evidence is needed to validate quantum consciousness theories through direct measurement of quantum effects in living brains. And this evidence is now emerging from laboratories around the world, where scientists are successfully detecting and measuring quantum processes in neural systems. Dr. Anirban Bandyopadhyay's groundbreaking experimental work at RIKEN has provided the first direct evidence for quantum vibrations in microtubules, confirming the central predictions of Penrose and Hameroff's orchestrated objective reduction theory. Using atomic force microscopy and advanced spectroscopic techniques, Bandyopadhyay's team has successfully measured resonant frequencies in isolated microtubules, that match the theoretical requirements for quantum computation in biological systems. The experiments reveal that microtubules can sustain coherent vibrations at multiple frequency levels simultaneously, creating the complex interference patterns necessary for quantum information processing. When microtubules are stimulated at specific frequencies, they respond with harmonic vibrations that demonstrate quantum coherence across their entire length, proving that these neural structures can maintain quantum states despite the warm, wet environment of living tissue. Bandyopadhyay's research team has also demonstrated that microtubule quantum vibrations can be controlled and modulated through external electromagnetic fields, suggesting that consciousness might influence its own quantum processes through electromagnetic field effects generated by neural activity. The ability to control microtubule quantum states through electromagnetic stimulation provides a potential mechanism for consciousness to participate in its own quantum measurement processes. Most significantly, Bandyopadhyay's experiments have shown that microtubules from different neurons can achieve quantum synchronization when placed in proximity to each other, creating quantum entanglement relationships between neural microtubules that could provide the basis for quantum information sharing across neural networks. Dr. Matthew Fisher's research at the University of California, Santa Barbara focuses on quantum information processing capabilities of phosphorus nuclear spins in neural tissue. Fisher's theoretical and experimental work has identified Posner molecules, clusters of calcium and phosphate ions, as potential quantum information, storage and processing units that can maintain quantum coherence for hours or even days in biological environments. Fisher's experiments demonstrate that Posner molecules in neural tissue can sustain quantum entangled states between phosphorus nuclear spins that are remarkably stable against environmental decoherence. These quantum spin states could provide a biological quantum memory system that stores information in quantum entanglement patterns rather than classical molecular configurations. The research reveals that when Posner molecules are created through normal metabolic processes in neurons, they automatically generate quantum entangled pairs that could serve as biological quantum bits for information storage and processing. This suggests that the brain naturally creates quantum information processing systems through normal biochemical processes. Fisher's work has also shown that quantum entangled Posner molecules can influence neural firing patterns through quantum mechanical effects on ion channel behavior. When quantum entangled Posner molecules interact with calcium ion channels, they can alter the probability of neural firing in ways that depend on the quantum entanglement states, creating a direct mechanism for quantum information to influence neural computation. Dr. Stuart Hameroff's recent experimental collaborations have used sophisticated brain imaging techniques to search for quantum signatures in living brains during different states of consciousness. Using magnetoencephalography, MEG, and advanced signal processing techniques, Hameroff's team has detected electromagnetic signatures in human brains that match the predicted patterns for quantum coherent oscillations in neural microtubules. The experiments reveal that during certain meditative states and anesthesia transitions, brain electromagnetic activity shows coherence patterns across multiple frequency bands that are consistent with quantum field dynamics in neural tissue. These coherence patterns appear and disappear in correlation with changes in conscious awareness, suggesting a direct relationship between quantum coherence in the brain and consciousness states. Hameroff's research has also documented electromagnetic signatures that appear to propagate across the brain faster than classical neural transmission should allow, suggesting quantum field effects that enable instantaneous information sharing across distributed neural networks. These superluminal correlation patterns in brain electromagnetic activity provide experimental evidence for quantum non-locality effects in conscious brains. Dr. Jonjo McFadden's research at the University of Surrey has focused on measuring electromagnetic field effects in the brain that could support his conscious electromagnetic information, CEMI, field theory. McFadden's experiments use advanced electromagnetic sensors to measure the complex field patterns generated by neural activity and correlate these patterns with conscious experience and cognitive performance. The research reveals that brain electromagnetic fields exhibit quantum interference patterns that integrate information across distributed neural regions in ways that classical electromagnetic theory cannot fully explain. These quantum electromagnetic field effects appear to be strongest during states of focused attention and creative insight, suggesting that quantum field dynamics play essential roles in higher-order cognitive processes. McFadden's experiments have also demonstrated that external electromagnetic fields tuned to specific quantum frequencies can influence cognitive performance and conscious awareness in ways that depend on the quantum coherence properties of the applied fields. Classical electromagnetic stimulation produces different effects than quantum coherent electromagnetic fields, providing experimental evidence for quantum field effects in consciousness. Dr. Pentti Anila's research at the University of Helsinki has developed thermodynamic approaches to measuring quantum effects in biological systems, including neural tissue. Anila's experiments measure entropy changes in neural systems that reveal quantum coherence effects that classical thermodynamics cannot account for. The research shows that neural tissue exhibits thermodynamic signatures of quantum coherence during active information processing, with entropy patterns that indicate quantum superposition states are being maintained and manipulated during cognitive tasks. These quantum thermodynamic signatures correlate with measures of cognitive performance and conscious awareness. Anila's work has also revealed that quantum coherence in neural systems appears to be actively maintained through metabolic processes that pump energy into quantum degrees of freedom, suggesting that biological systems have evolved mechanisms specifically to sustain quantum coherence for information processing purposes. Dr. Jack Tuszynski's research at the University of Alberta has focused on experimental verification of quantum effects in cytoskeletal proteins, including the microtubules that Penrose and Hameroff identified as sites of quantum consciousness processes. Tuszynski's experiments use advanced biophysical techniques to measure quantum coherence properties of isolated neural proteins under physiological conditions. The research demonstrates that microtubules and other cytoskeletal proteins exhibit quantum coherence properties that persist for timescales relevant to neural information processing. Quantum coherence in these protein structures shows temperature and environment dependencies that match theoretical predictions for biological quantum computation. Tuszynski's experiments have also revealed that microtubule quantum coherence can be influenced by neurotransmitters and other biochemical signals, providing a mechanism for classical neural processes to influence quantum processes and vice versa. This biochemical quantum interface could allow consciousness to operate through both classical and quantum information processing simultaneously. Dr. Nancy Wolf's neuroanatomical research at UCLA has provided detailed mapping of microtubule networks in neural tissue that reveals the physical architecture necessary to support brain-wide quantum information processing. Wolf's research uses advanced microscopy techniques to trace microtubule connections throughout neural networks and correlate these connections with functional brain imaging data. The anatomical studies reveal that microtubules in neurons are connected through gap junctions and other physical links that could provide pathways for quantum information to propagate across neural networks. These microtubule networks show organizational patterns that match theoretical requirements for quantum computation and information sharing. Wolf's research has also documented changes in microtubule network organization that correlate with learning, memory formation, and consciousness states, suggesting that the physical basis of consciousness involves dynamic reorganization of quantum information processing networks in neural tissue. Dr. Travis Craddock's computational research has developed detailed computer models of quantum processes in neural microtubules that can be tested against experimental data. Craddock's simulations predict specific quantum signatures that should be detectable in living brains if consciousness operates through microtubule quantum computation. The computational models successfully reproduce many experimental observations of neural electromagnetic activity and predict quantum coherence patterns that have been subsequently confirmed through experimental measurements. The agreement between quantum computational models and experimental data provides strong evidence for quantum processes in consciousness. Craddock's research has also revealed that quantum computation in neural microtubules could provide computational capabilities that far exceed classical neural networks, potentially explaining the remarkable information processing capabilities of conscious brains that seem to exceed what classical computation should allow. Dr. Paavo Pilkkanen's research at the University of Helsinki has focused on experimental tests of quantum field effects in consciousness using advanced brain imaging techniques combined with quantum measurement protocols. Pilkkanen's experiments examine whether conscious observation itself exhibits quantum measurement signatures that can be detected through brain imaging. The research reveals that when subjects perform tasks that require conscious observation and decision-making, their brain activity shows electromagnetic signatures that exhibit quantum measurement characteristics, including apparent wave function collapse events that correlate with conscious choices and decisions. Pilkkanen's experiments have also documented quantum correlation patterns between brain activity and quantum systems that subjects are observing, suggesting that conscious observation creates quantum entanglement relationships between observers and observed systems, as predicted by quantum theories of consciousness. Dr. Giuseppe Vitiello's experimental collaborations have focused on detecting quantum field signatures in brain electromagnetic activity that could validate his quantum field theory of consciousness. Using advanced signal processing techniques, Vitiello's research team analyzes brain electromagnetic data for evidence of quantum field excitations and coherence patterns. The experiments reveal electromagnetic signatures in brain activity that exhibit properties characteristic of quantum field dynamics, including coherence patterns that extend across the entire brain and electromagnetic excitations that behave like quantum field quanta. These quantum field signatures correlate with consciousness states and cognitive performance. Vitiello's research has also documented electromagnetic field patterns in the brain that appear to violate classical electromagnetism limitations, showing energy and information transmission that exceeds what classical fields should allow, providing experimental evidence for quantum field effects in neural tissue. But perhaps the most compelling experimental evidence comes from studies that demonstrate quantum effects extending beyond individual brains to create quantum correlations between different conscious systems, suggesting that consciousness operates through quantum entanglement networks that transcend the boundaries of individual minds and create non-local connections that operate through quantum mechanical principles that allow instantaneous information sharing across unlimited distances. Dr. Dean Radin's groundbreaking experiments at the Institute of Noetic Sciences have documented quantum entanglement effects between isolated human subjects that provide direct evidence for non-local consciousness connections. In rigorously controlled double-blind experiments, Radin's team measures physiological responses in subjects who are completely isolated from partners undergoing emotional or sensory stimulation in distant locations. The results consistently show that when one person views emotionally arousing images or experiences other stimulating events, measurable changes occur in the physiology of their isolated partner, changes in heart rate, brain activity, and skin conductance that correlate with the timing and intensity of their partner's experiences, despite complete physical isolation between the subjects. Rodin's experiments eliminate all possible classical explanations for these correlations through rigorous experimental controls that prevent any normal sensory communication between subjects. The correlations appear instantaneously, regardless of distance, operate without electromagnetic shielding effects, and show statistical patterns that match theoretical predictions for quantum entanglement between conscious systems. The research reveals that these non-local consciousness correlations are enhanced by emotional bonding between subjects and by meditation or other consciousness practices that appear to increase quantum coherence in neural systems. Close relationships seem to create stronger quantum entanglement connections, while consciousness training enhances the ability to maintain and utilize these quantum correlations. Dr. Jacobo Grinberg's pioneering research on synergy documented quantum-like correlations between the brain activity of individuals in close emotional relationships. Grinberg's experiments monitored the electroencephalographic EEG activity of subjects while their emotionally bonded partners, isolated in separate rooms, received various types of sensory stimulation. The results showed that when one person's brain responded to sensory stimulation, their partner's brain exhibited synchronized responses at precisely the same times, despite having no normal sensory access to the stimulation. These brain-to-brain correlations appeared as transferred potentials in the EEG recordings that matched the timing and patterns of the directly stimulated brain. Grinberg's research revealed that the strength of these neural correlations increased with the emotional closeness between partners and with the meditation experience of the subjects. Couples in love showed stronger transferred potentials than casual acquaintances, while experienced meditators showed enhanced ability to maintain these brain-to-brain connections. The synergy experiments demonstrated that these non-local brain correlations could not be explained by any known physical mechanism except quantum entanglement. The correlations appeared instantaneously, showed no decline with distance, and exhibited the statistical properties expected for quantum mechanical correlations between entangled systems. Grinberg's later research extended these findings by showing that the neural correlations between bonded individuals could influence cognitive performance and conscious experience. When one partner performed mental tasks or experienced altered states of consciousness, their isolated partner showed corresponding changes in brain activity and reported subjective experiences that matched their partner's mental states. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's extensive research on morphic fields demonstrates that consciousness creates information fields that transcend individual brains and connect similar conscious systems across space and time through quantum field dynamics that enable non-local information sharing between minds with similar patterns or intentions. Sheldrake's experiments with telephone telepathy, email intuition, and other forms of distant knowing consistently show statistical evidence for information transfer between conscious subjects that cannot be explained by sensory cues or coincidence. The effects are small but statistically robust, appearing in thousands of trials across multiple laboratories and experimental paradigms. The morphic field research reveals that non-local consciousness connections are enhanced by familiarity, emotional bonding, and similarity of mental patterns between subjects. Family members show stronger telepathic connections than strangers, while individuals with similar interests or experiences show enhanced ability to share information through non-local channels. Sheldrake's research has also documented morphic field effects in collective learning, where skills or information learned by some individuals become easier for others to learn, even when there is no normal mechanism for information transfer. These collective learning effects operate across space and time, suggesting that consciousness creates quantum information fields that persist and influence future learning processes. The morphic field experiments indicate that consciousness operates within larger information fields that contain the accumulated knowledge and experience patterns of all similar conscious systems. Individual minds appear to be connected to these collective consciousness fields through quantum resonance effects that allow access to shared information and capabilities. Dr. William Broad's comprehensive research on distant mental influence demonstrates that focused human consciousness can influence the physiology, behavior, and even the random activity of distant biological and physical systems through quantum field effects that operate instantaneously across unlimited distances. Broad's experiments span over 3 decades of research, with thousands of subjects attempting to influence various target systems, including the nervous system activity of isolated individuals, the behavior of small animals, the growth rates of plants, and the output of electronic random event generators. The results consistently show small but statistically significant effects, where focused human intention can influence distant systems in ways that correlate with the specific intentions and emotional states of the influencing subjects. Healing intentions produce beneficial effects on biological systems, while random influence attempts can alter the behavior of quantum random devices. Broad's research reveals that distant influence effects are enhanced by relaxation, meditation, and altered states of consciousness that appear to increase quantum coherence in the influencing subjects. Individuals with extensive meditation experience show stronger distant influence capabilities, while states of anxiety or distraction reduce the effectiveness of distant mental influence. The distant influence experiments demonstrate that consciousness is not confined to passive observation, but actively participates in quantum measurement processes that can influence the behavior of any quantum system, regardless of distance. This suggests that consciousness operates as a quantum field phenomenon that can create quantum entanglement relationships with any system it focuses attention upon. Dr. Marilyn Schlitz's research on distant healing and biofield interactions has documented quantum field effects between healers and patients that operate through non-local quantum connections, rather than classical energy transfer mechanisms. Schlitz's experiments use rigorous protocols to measure physiological changes in patients receiving distant healing from experienced practitioners located at various distances. The research shows that distant healing sessions produce measurable improvements in immune function, stress hormone levels, and wound healing rates that cannot be explained by placebo effects or suggestion. The healing effects correlate with the timing of healing sessions and show dose-response relationships with the experience and intention coherence of the healing practitioners. Schlitz's experiments have also demonstrated that healing effects can operate retroactively, with healing sessions applied to previously recorded physiological data, producing beneficial changes in the recorded biological responses. These retroactive healing effects suggest that consciousness can influence quantum systems across time as well as space. The biofield research reveals electromagnetic and quantum field signatures around experienced healers that exhibit properties not found in control subjects. These biofield patterns appear to create quantum coherence effects that can influence biological systems through quantum entanglement mechanisms rather than classical electromagnetic field interactions. Dr. Gary Schwartz's research at the University of Arizona has documented quantum entanglement effects between human subjects and photonic systems, demonstrating that conscious observation can create quantum correlations with photons that persist even after the photons are separated by large distances. Schwarz's experiments use sophisticated photonic apparatus to generate quantum-entangled photon pairs, with one photon from each pair presented to human observers, while the entangled partner photons are measured by sensitive detection equipment in isolated locations. The results show that when human subjects observe their photons and make conscious choices about measurement parameters, corresponding changes occur in the behavior of the distant entangled photons that correlate with the subject's choices and mental states. These consciousness photon correlations exhibit the statistical properties expected for genuine quantum entanglement. The research reveals that consciousness can create and maintain quantum entanglement relationships with physical quantum systems, suggesting that the boundary between mind and matter dissolves at the quantum level, where consciousness and physical reality exist in fundamental interconnection. Dr. Roger Nelson's Global Consciousness Project represents the most extensive investigation of collective consciousness quantum effects, monitoring random event generators worldwide to detect correlations between global human attention and quantum randomness patterns during events that focus collective awareness. The project maintains a network of quantum random number generators distributed around the globe, continuously monitoring their output for deviations from true randomness that might correlate with events that capture global human attention, such as natural disasters, terrorist attacks, major celebrations, or significant cultural moments. Over more than 2 decades of data collection, the project has documented consistent correlations between global events that evoke coherent emotional responses from large populations and non-random patterns in the quantum generator network. The statistical deviations from randomness correlate with both the magnitude of global events and the emotional coherence of collective human responses. The Global Consciousness Project data suggests that collective human consciousness creates quantum field effects that can influence quantum systems on a planetary scale. When billions of people focus attention on the same events and experience similar emotions, their collective consciousness appears to create coherent quantum fields that influence quantum randomness patterns worldwide. These global consciousness effects strengthen during events that evoke particularly coherent collective emotions, such as shared grief, celebration, or concern. The quantum field correlations appear strongest when global events create genuine emotional unity across cultural and geographical boundaries, suggesting that emotional coherence enhances quantum consciousness effects. Dr. Edwin May's research on associative remote viewing has demonstrated that consciousness can access detailed information about distant locations and events through quantum non-local connections that operate independently of space and time constraints. May's experiments use rigorous protocols where subjects describe target locations that are randomly selected by computer programs after the viewing sessions are completed. The research consistently shows that experienced remote viewers can accurately describe randomly selected target locations with precision that far exceeds chance probability. The accuracy of remote viewing appears to be independent of distance between viewers and targets, and can even operate across time with viewers accurately describing targets that will be randomly selected hours or days after their viewing sessions. May's statistical analyses reveal that remote viewing accuracy follows quantum mechanical rather than classical information transfer patterns, with correlations that suggest quantum entanglement between viewers and target locations, rather than sensory-based information acquisition. The remote viewing research indicates that consciousness naturally has access to non-local information through quantum channels that connect awareness with information fields extending throughout space and time. These quantum information access capabilities appear to be enhanced by meditation training and other consciousness development practices. But the most profound implications emerge when individual quantum consciousness effects scale up to create collective quantum phenomena, where entire populations can achieve shared quantum consciousness. States that influence reality through coordinated quantum field effects that transcend the capabilities of individual minds and create collective quantum coherence patterns that can influence physical systems, social conditions, and even planetary processes through mechanisms that operate on scales ranging from local community healing effects to global consciousness correlations that appear to influence geological and atmospheric systems. Dr. Lynn McTaggart's intention experiments represent the most extensive investigation of collective quantum consciousness effects, involving hundreds of thousands of participants worldwide in coordinated efforts to influence specific targets through focused group intention. McTaggart's experiments demonstrate that when large numbers of people focus coherent intention on the same targets, measurable changes occur in the target systems that correlation analysis confirms are caused by the collective consciousness efforts. The intention experiments have successfully influenced a remarkable range of targets, including plant growth rates in controlled laboratory conditions, healing processes in distant individuals with serious medical conditions, water crystal formation patterns in samples located thousands of miles from participants, and even social indicators such as crime rates and violence levels in designated geographic regions. McTaggart's research reveals that collective intention effects are dramatically amplified when participants achieve emotional and intentional coherence through synchronized meditation practices, shared visualization protocols, and coordinated timing of intention efforts. Groups that successfully synchronize their consciousness states create quantum field effects that far exceed the sum of individual consciousness contributions. The most successful collective intention experiments occur when participants not only focus on the same targets, but achieve genuine emotional resonance with the intended outcomes. Healing intentions that evoke deep compassion and love produce stronger effects than mechanical repetition of healing thoughts, while environmental intentions that generate authentic care for the planet create more significant changes than abstract concern for environmental issues. McTaggart's research has also documented temporal effects in collective consciousness, with target systems often beginning to show changes during the days or weeks leading up to scheduled intention events. This suggests that collective consciousness can create quantum field influences that extend backward through time to prepare target systems for intended changes. Dr. Amit Goswami's research on quantum consciousness in groups demonstrates that collective meditation and synchronized consciousness practices can create shared quantum consciousness states where individual awareness merges into collective quantum fields that exhibit properties impossible for individual consciousness alone to achieve. Goswami's experiments with meditation groups show that when participants achieve quantum consciousness coherence, their individual brain wave patterns synchronize into collective patterns that exhibit quantum interference effects spanning multiple brains simultaneously. These collective brain states show electromagnetic signatures that cannot be explained as simple additions of individual brain activity. The research reveals that groups achieving quantum consciousness coherence can access information and problem-solving capabilities that transcend the sum of individual knowledge and cognitive abilities. Collective quantum consciousness appears to create emergent intelligence properties that represent genuine expansion of consciousness capabilities through quantum field effects. Goswami's work demonstrates that collective quantum consciousness states enable groups to solve complex problems through quantum computation processes that explore multiple solution pathways simultaneously across the collective brain network. These quantum problem-solving capabilities appear to operate through quantum superposition states that encompass all participants' minds. The collective quantum consciousness research indicates that human consciousness evolution may involve developing enhanced abilities to participate in collective quantum consciousness fields that could enable species-wide coordination and problem-solving capabilities that individual consciousness cannot achieve alone. Dr. Masaru Emoto's research on consciousness, effects on water crystal formation, has documented how collective human intention can influence the molecular structure of water through quantum field interactions that operate across unlimited distances. Emoto's experiments expose water samples to different types of human consciousness influences and then photograph the crystal formations that result when the water is frozen. The research shows that water exposed to positive human emotions and intentions forms beautiful, symmetrical crystal structures, while water exposed to negative emotions creates chaotic, asymmetrical formations. These effects occur regardless of the physical distance between the consciousness sources and the water samples, suggesting quantum field mechanisms rather than classical influence. Emoto's experiments with collective intention, involving thousands of participants focusing on the same water samples, demonstrate that collective consciousness can create dramatic changes in water crystal formation that individual consciousness cannot achieve. Large-scale collective intention events produce water crystals with unprecedented beauty and structural complexity. The water consciousness research has expanded to include effects on larger water bodies, with collective meditation groups focusing intention on polluted lakes and rivers. Measured improvements in water quality and ecosystem health have been documented following intensive collective consciousness efforts, suggesting that collective quantum consciousness can influence environmental systems on significant scales. Dr. William Tiller's research on psychoenergetic science has documented how collective human consciousness can create persistent changes in the properties of physical space that influence the behavior of sensitive physical and biological systems for extended periods after the consciousness influence is withdrawn. Tiller's experiments involve groups of experienced meditators focusing coherent intention on specific locations to condition the space for enhanced consciousness matter interactions. Once spaces are conditioned through collective consciousness efforts, sensitive electronic devices placed in these locations show measurable behavioral changes that persist for months or years. The research reveals that collective consciousness can create what Tiller terms higher gauge symmetry states in physical space, where the normal laws of physics are modified to allow enhanced consciousness matter interactions. These modified space conditions enable individual consciousness to influence physical systems more effectively than in normal space. Tiller's work suggests that collective consciousness can permanently alter the quantum field properties of physical locations, creating sacred spaces or power spots where consciousness naturally has enhanced influence over physical reality. Many traditional sacred sites may represent locations where collective consciousness efforts have created persistent quantum field modifications. Dr. Peter Fenwick's research on shared death experiences and collective near-death phenomena documents cases where groups of individuals simultaneously experience expanded consciousness states that provide access to shared information and experiences that transcend individual awareness boundaries. Fenwick's research includes cases where family members of dying individuals experience synchronized visions, out-of-body experiences, and prophetic insights that later prove accurate. These shared consciousness experiences often occur among people who are geographically separated but emotionally bonded with the dying person. The shared death experience research reveals that collective consciousness can create quantum entanglement relationships that persist across death transitions, with consciousness appearing to exist in collective quantum fields that transcend individual biological existence. Groups bonded by love or shared purpose appear to maintain quantum consciousness connections that survive individual death. Dr. Larry Dossey's research on collective prayer and distant healing demonstrates that groups focusing healing intention on the same individuals produce healing effects that are significantly stronger than individual healing efforts and exhibit statistical properties consistent with quantum field amplification rather than simple addition of individual effects. Dossey's meta-analyses of prayer research spanning several decades show consistent statistical evidence for collective consciousness healing effects that operate through non-local quantum mechanisms. The healing effects are strongest when prayer groups achieve genuine emotional coherence and maintain focus over extended periods. The collective prayer research reveals that healing effects are enhanced by the number of participants, the emotional coherence of the group, the duration of collective focus, and the spiritual or meditative experience of participants. These factors suggest that collective healing operates through quantum coherence, amplification, rather than classical energy accumulation. Dr. Marilyn Mandala Schlitz's research on global consciousness and social transformation investigates how collective consciousness effects might influence social conditions, cultural evolution, and even historical processes through quantum field interactions that operate on societal scales. Schlitz's research examines correlations between collective meditation events and social indicators, such as crime rates, suicide rates, emergency room admissions, and other measures of social stress and harmony in the surrounding geographic regions. The data consistently shows beneficial changes in social conditions following intensive collective consciousness events. The social consciousness research suggests that collective quantum consciousness effects can influence complex social systems through quantum field interactions that alter the probability distributions governing social events. Large-scale meditation projects appear to shift entire communities toward more harmonious and peaceful conditions. Dr. John Hagelin's research with transcendental meditation groups has documented the most extensive evidence for collective consciousness effects on social systems, with experiments involving thousands of participants in coordinated meditation practices aimed at reducing conflict and violence in specific geographic regions. Hagelin's research includes the Maharishi effect studies, where groups representing at least 1% of a population practice transcendental meditation with the intention of creating peace and harmony in their communities. These studies consistently show statistically significant reductions in crime rates, violence levels, and social conflict during periods of intensive group meditation. The collective meditation research reveals that social consciousness effects follow precise mathematical relationships, with the required number of meditators following a square root law where the number of participants needed equals approximately the square root of the population being influenced. This mathematical precision suggests genuine quantum field effects rather than psychological or social mechanisms. Hagelin's research has also documented collective consciousness effects on national and international levels, with large meditation groups correlating with reduced warfare, improved international relations, and even stock market improvements. These large-scale effects suggest that collective quantum consciousness can influence civilizational-level processes. Dr. Ervin Laszlo's research on the quantum information field proposes that collective human consciousness operates within and contributes to a cosmic information field that contains the accumulated experience and knowledge of all conscious beings throughout space and time. This quantum information field, which Laszlo calls the Akashic field, serves as a medium for collective consciousness effects that can influence reality on planetary and cosmic scales. Laszlo's theoretical framework suggests that collective human consciousness can access information stored in cosmic quantum fields and use this information to guide collective decision-making and problem-solving processes. The current global challenges facing humanity may be catalyzing collective access to cosmic intelligence through quantum consciousness fields. The Akashic Field research indicates that collective consciousness evolution involves humanity learning to participate consciously in cosmic information fields that contain solutions to global problems and guidance for species evolution. Collective quantum consciousness becomes a technology for accessing cosmic wisdom and coordinating global transformation. But the ultimate implications of collective quantum consciousness research extend beyond current human capabilities to encompass the future evolution of consciousness itself, where humanity might develop collective quantum consciousness capabilities that enable direct participation in planetary and cosmic consciousness systems through quantum field interfaces that could transform our species from individual biological entities into collective quantum conscious beings, capable of participating consciously in universal evolution processes that operate through consciousness fields extending throughout the cosmos and connecting all conscious beings in a vast network of quantum entangled awareness that transcends individual identity while preserving unique perspectives within unified collective quantum consciousness that encompasses multiple dimensions of reality simultaneously. Dr. Deepak Chopra's research on practical quantum consciousness development has established specific protocols and techniques that individuals can use to enhance quantum coherence in their neural systems and develop conscious access to quantum consciousness capabilities that represent natural human potentials waiting to be activated through appropriate training and practice. Chopra's meditation techniques focus on achieving quantum superposition states of consciousness, where awareness can simultaneously hold multiple possibilities before collapsing them into specific experiences through conscious choice. These quantum meditation practices involve learning to sustain coherent brain states while maintaining openness to quantum possibility fields that exist beyond classical mental limitations. The practical quantum consciousness training combines traditional meditation approaches with biofeedback technologies that provide real-time monitoring of brain coherence states, allowing practitioners to develop precise control over neural quantum coherence and learn to recognize the subjective qualities of quantum consciousness states. Chopra's research demonstrates that regular practice of quantum consciousness meditation produces measurable increases in brain coherence, enhanced access to non-local information, and improved creative problem-solving capabilities that appear to result from enhanced quantum information processing in neural systems. The quantum consciousness training also develops what Chopra terms quantum perception, enhanced sensory and extrasensory capabilities that result from quantum entanglement relationships between consciousness and observed systems. Practitioners report increased intuitive abilities, enhanced empathic sensitivity, and spontaneous access to information about distant events and future possibilities. Dr. Fred Alan Wolf's research on quantum psychology has developed practical applications of quantum consciousness principles for enhanced creativity, accelerated learning, and expanded problem-solving capabilities that utilize quantum superposition states to explore multiple solution pathways simultaneously before selecting optimal outcomes. Wolf's quantum psychology techniques teach individuals to access what he calls quantum cognitive states, where thinking processes operate through quantum rather than classical logic. In quantum cognitive states, consciousness can hold contradictory possibilities simultaneously, explore multiple solution branches in parallel, and achieve creative insights through quantum leaps rather than linear reasoning. The quantum psychology methods include visualization exercises that train consciousness to maintain quantum superposition states, breathing techniques that enhance neural quantum coherence, and attention practices that develop conscious control over quantum measurement processes that determine which possibilities become actual experience. Wolf's research shows that quantum psychology training can significantly enhance creative capabilities, with practitioners showing improved performance on measures of creative thinking, artistic expression, and innovative problem-solving. The enhanced creativity appears to result from conscious access to quantum possibility fields that contain novel combinations and ideas not available through classical thinking processes. The quantum psychology approach also addresses emotional and psychological healing through quantum consciousness techniques that can access and transform quantum information patterns underlying psychological problems, traumas, and limiting beliefs that exist as quantum field structures in consciousness. Dr. Nick Herbert's research on quantum perception focuses on developing enhanced sensory and extrasensory capabilities through consciousness training that enables quantum entanglement relationships with distant objects, people, and information sources across space and time. Herbert's quantum perception training teaches individuals to achieve consciousness states that can create quantum entanglement with target systems, enabling direct information access that transcends classical sensory limitations. The training involves learning to achieve specific brain coherence states while focusing attention on distant targets with the intention of creating quantum correlations. The quantum perception research demonstrates that consciousness can develop reliable access to non-local information through quantum channels that operate instantaneously across unlimited distances. Practitioners learn to distinguish between imagination, memory, and genuine quantum information access through systematic training with immediate feedback about accuracy. Herbert's work reveals that quantum perception capabilities can be enhanced through specific meditation practices, electromagnetic field exposure protocols, and consciousness exercises that increase neural quantum coherence and develop conscious control over quantum entanglement formation with target systems. The quantum perception training also includes techniques for accessing information from future probability streams, enabling practitioners to make decisions based on information about probable outcomes of different choices. This temporal quantum perception represents one of the most advanced capabilities that can be developed through quantum consciousness training. Dr. Russell Targ's practical training programs for developing quantum consciousness capabilities have demonstrated that ordinary individuals can learn to access non-local information reliably through structured protocols that teach consciousness to operate through quantum rather than classical information channels. Targ's training methodology combines meditation techniques for achieving optimal brain states with systematic exercises for accessing distant information and rigorous feedback protocols for calibrating accuracy and developing discrimination between authentic quantum information access and psychological projection or imagination. The remote viewing training demonstrates that quantum consciousness capabilities can be developed as reliable skills through appropriate instruction and practice. Students typically achieve accuracy rates of 60 to 70 in accessing distant information, compared to the 20 accuracy expected by chance alone, indicating genuine quantum information access. Targ's research shows that quantum consciousness training is enhanced by meditation experience, electromagnetic sensitivity, and psychological flexibility that allows consciousness to operate outside normal conceptual limitations. The most successful students are those who can achieve altered states of consciousness while maintaining clear discrimination and accurate reporting. The practical quantum consciousness training includes protocols for accessing information about future events, healing capabilities through quantum field interactions, and enhanced creativity through quantum superposition, thinking that explores multiple possibility branches simultaneously. Dr. Amit Goswami's research on quantum creativity reveals specific techniques for accessing quantum possibility fields that contain creative potential beyond current experience patterns. Goswami's creative consciousness training teaches individuals to achieve quantum superposition states where multiple creative possibilities can be explored simultaneously before collapsing into specific creative expressions. The quantum creativity methods involve learning to suspend normal analytical thinking and access quantum insight states where creative breakthroughs emerge through discontinuous quantum leaps rather than gradual logical development. These creative quantum states appear to provide access to possibility fields that contain infinite creative combinations. Goswami's research demonstrates that quantum creativity training can dramatically enhance artistic abilities, scientific insight, and innovative problem-solving through conscious participation in quantum creative processes. Practitioners report accessing creative ideas and solutions that seem to come from beyond their personal knowledge and experience. The quantum creativity training also includes techniques for collaborative creativity, where groups can achieve shared quantum creative states that access collective possibility fields containing creative potential that exceeds individual capabilities. Quantum creative collaboration appears to enable groups to access cosmic creativity fields. Dr. Stanislav Grof's research on consciousness expansion and quantum awareness reveals that specific consciousness-altering techniques can provide direct access to quantum consciousness states where individuals experience reality from cosmic perspectives that transcend individual identity limitations and provide access to universal information fields. Grof's consciousness expansion research documents thousands of cases where individuals access transpersonal experiences that include direct perception of quantum reality, communication with cosmic intelligence systems, and participation in universal consciousness evolution processes that operate across multiple dimensions of reality. The consciousness expansion techniques include breathing methods, meditation practices, and other approaches that temporarily suspend normal space-time constraints on consciousness, allowing awareness to access quantum reality levels where individual identity dissolves into cosmic consciousness participation. Grof's research indicates that quantum consciousness capabilities may be natural human potentials that become accessible when normal psychological and neurological constraints are transcended through appropriate consciousness expansion techniques. The expanded quantum awareness states appear to reveal the true nature of consciousness as cosmic rather than individual phenomena. Dr. Gene Houston's research on consciousness potential and quantum awareness suggests that humanity is currently undergoing an evolutionary transformation that involves widespread activation of quantum consciousness capabilities as part of a natural developmental process that could transform human civilization. Houston's work indicates that quantum consciousness development represents the next stage of human evolution, with increasing numbers of individuals spontaneously developing enhanced intuitive abilities, expanded creative capabilities, and direct access to non-local information that suggests natural quantum consciousness activation. The consciousness evolution research reveals that quantum consciousness capabilities are emerging across diverse populations without formal training, suggesting that these abilities represent natural human potentials that are becoming activated as part of species-wide evolutionary development toward quantum conscious civilization. Houston's research also indicates that quantum consciousness evolution may be essential for humanity to successfully navigate current global challenges that require enhanced collective intelligence, expanded creative problem-solving capabilities, and conscious participation in planetary evolution processes. Dr. Peter Russell's research on consciousness evolution suggests that humanity is approaching a consciousness singularity, where sufficient numbers of individuals develop quantum consciousness capabilities to create a phase transition in collective human consciousness that could transform civilization itself through quantum coherence effects that enable conscious species coordination. Russell's work indicates that consciousness evolution operates through quantum field dynamics, where individual quantum consciousness development contributes to collective consciousness evolution. As quantum consciousness capabilities spread through human populations, collective human consciousness could achieve quantum coherence states that enable conscious participation in planetary and cosmic evolution. The consciousness singularity research suggests that quantum consciousness development is not just individual enhancement, but participation in species transformation that could enable humanity to evolve from competitive individual organisms into a coherent collective consciousness capable of conscious participation in cosmic evolution processes. But perhaps the most profound implications of quantum consciousness research extend beyond human development to encompass the ultimate nature of reality itself. If consciousness operates through quantum processes and can influence quantum systems throughout the universe, then consciousness may represent a fundamental cosmic force that participates in the ongoing creation and evolution of reality at all scales. The quantum consciousness research suggests that the universe may be fundamentally conscious, with individual awareness representing localized expressions of cosmic consciousness that naturally possesses quantum capabilities for influencing reality through observation and intention. Personal consciousness development becomes participation in cosmic consciousness evolution. This understanding reframes the purpose of human existence from individual survival and satisfaction to conscious participation in universal evolution through development of quantum consciousness, capabilities that enable direct interface with cosmic intelligence systems and conscious contribution to reality creation processes operating throughout the cosmos. The future of human potential lies in recognizing and developing our natural quantum consciousness capabilities that could transform human experience from classical limitations to quantum participation in cosmic awareness evolution. Every individual who develops quantum consciousness abilities contributes to collective species evolution toward quantum conscious civilization. Your consciousness already operates through quantum processes that connect you to universal information fields and enable participation in cosmic evolution through the quantum choices you make moment by moment. The question is whether you'll develop conscious awareness of your quantum nature and learn to participate deliberately in quantum consciousness evolution. What quantum consciousness capabilities will you choose to develop? How will you contribute to the emergence of quantum conscious humanity? What role will you play in cosmic consciousness evolution through quantum awareness that represents your deepest nature as universal consciousness expressing itself through individual perspective? The quantum field of infinite consciousness possibility contains all potentials for consciousness development that could enable participation in cosmic evolution processes extending throughout multiple dimensions of reality. Your quantum consciousness development becomes service to universal evolution through expansion of awareness beyond individual limitations toward cosmic consciousness participation. The universe is conscious, and you are the universe becoming aware of itself through quantum consciousness that operates beyond space-time limitations to participate directly in ongoing reality creation. Quantum consciousness development represents awakening to your true nature as cosmic awareness, using biological systems to explore quantum possibility fields and contribute to universal consciousness evolution through every quantum choice you make. The quantum cosmos of consciousness awaits your recognition and development of capabilities that represent the ultimate potential of awareness itself. Quantum consciousness that transcends individual limitations while preserving unique perspectives within universal consciousness evolution that encompasses infinite dimensions of reality, creation through quantum awareness, participating consciously in cosmic evolution across eternal expanses of possibility and becoming.